All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Cooking with Cardiology. We are really excited to celebrate American Heart Month in this way by having Dr. Jason Russo and his wife Ashley join us in the kitchen to cook up an awesome heart healthy meal. We were just talking earlier before this event, and between his surgical experience, Ashley's nursing experience, and my nutrition experience, there's 37 years combined of cardiac knowledge in all these different areas going on here tonight for you. So please feel free to type any questions into the chat. Dawn Maddox is another cardiac registered nurse over here that works with me in the Heart Resource Center. So we will be here to man any types of questions that you have related to anything heart health you can think of. But one thing that we know is that nutrition plays a really big role in how we get to having cardiac disease, during the healing process if we do have a cardiac event, and then hopefully preventing another one from happening later on down the road. So without further ado, I appreciate you both being here so very much.
Thank you.
And we are glad to sit back and watch them prepare a pan roasted salmon with lots of vegetables and lots of color going on here. So thank you.
All right, perfect. All right, guys, good evening. We're back again. We've done this once before, so if you were with us last time, thanks for coming back. Um, Tonight, we're going to be working on a pan-seared salmon dish with roasted vegetables and sweet potatoes. So this is kind of a recipe that we have just kind of made up at our house. We both like salmon, so we've kind of tweaked a way to roast or pan sear the salmon. So we're going to show you guys how to do that. But first, I want to go ahead and get the other things started. We're going to start with our sweet potatoes. So we have sweet potatoes done two ways. We're going to show you two ways to do it. One, we have these diced up already so that we can mix them in with our vegetables when we put them in the oven to bake. And then I also have two whole sweet potatoes that I'm going to show you how we do those for meal prep as well as for some dinners. Sweet potatoes take longer to cook, so that's why I kind of wanted to go over that first. So we're going to do that. I've got two sweet potatoes here. And how I do this is, will you turn the oven on?
You can do.
So first, when I bake my sweet potatoes, I'm going to set the oven to 425, and they normally take a while to bake. So that's why I want to do that first. So if I know that I'm going to be having this dinner, it's a really quick meal. So I always want to have these done pretty much ahead of time, or prepped from days before. So what I do with, oh gosh, is that aluminum foil messing us up? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out two pieces of aluminum foil. And I'm going to kind of situate my sweet potatoes in the aluminum foil, kind of wrap it up just a little bit. So I fold it up like this so that when I use either olive oil or avocado oil on it, and it really doesn't matter which, they're both healthy fats, it's going to catch it. So I put a little bit of olive oil across the top, just a little drizzle. You don't really have to measure it if you don't want to from this. So then,
My job is to kind of get my hands wet here because we want the whole potato completely covered in the oil before finishing the wrap around it and putting it in the oven.
all right, so that's the second one. All right, so I'm going to fold this up, and this is kind of key doing this so that you don't get your hands dirty. You fold your aluminum foil up so it kind of envelopes it, and then you just roll the top down so that there's nothing open on the bottom. So we're going to sit those on here. And for purposes of class, I'm gonna put these on here with our vegetables. So while the oven is preheating, I'm gonna go ahead and get all of the vegetables prepared. So for tonight, we're gonna be doing zucchini, squash, Brussels sprouts, and some diced sweet potatoes. So that's gonna be your vegetable carb sources. I'm gonna take, sorry, I didn't mean to breathe out so hard, guys. If I hurt anybody's.
She's doing all the talking, so.
I know. Sorry. All right, so I'm going to take a large bowl, and from what they have diced up, you can either prep these vegetables for later in the week, or you can do what you want for that dinner that you're going to have that night. Are there any questions yet from anybody? Okay.
Nope, no questions yet.
Cool. Take a parchment paper, and I'm going to give you guys a little secret. And I don't know, this may be something that everybody knows, and I just learned, but when you roast vegetables on parchment paper, it allows the vegetables to crisp up a little better, especially Brussels sprouts. Soggy Brussels sprouts are the worst. So when you put Brussels on parchment paper and roast them, they get crispier. So they don't have that soggy flavor to them. So yes, question.
The other oven.
Oh, no,
You
we
do
will
have
do it
two
all
ovens.
together. We'll just put everything in the oven together. That's cool. So I'm going to do these one at a time because I like to keep my vegetables separate from one another. So I'm just going to take some veggies, some squash, and we're going to put it in here. I'm going to take olive oil and just a drizzle. For safety's sake, we're going to do a half. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Will you scoot this over that way or to the back? All right. Can everybody see? You good? Okay. All right. So I have my squash in my bowl. So I'm going to take and I'm going to do a teaspoon of olive oil. And I'm just going to drizzle it on there. And don't worry, you can mix it up and you'll be fine. And then how I season mine is salt. We have sea salt, not regular salt. We get plenty of regular sodium in our diets. And then some black pepper. And depending on the flavor of what you are cooking, you can put any flavors on here that you would like, but this is what we do regularly. Salt, pepper, and then I sprinkle garlic powder over it. And that's it. You could add spice to it. You could add crushed red pepper. You could add ground cayenne if you like spicier foods. But if you're making this salmon that's a little spicier, I tend to not want this as spicy, just so it's balanced. So I'm going to mix these around just a little bit. Just make sure that there's a little bit of olive oil all over that. All right, I need the baking sheet back. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take this. We're going to put it on our parchment paper. I'm very OCD, so that's why I do it like this. No harm, no foul. All right, so now we're going to put our sweet potatoes, and we're going to do the same thing. We're literally just going to do the same thing with each vegetable. We're going to put, and you may have to put a little bit more olive oil on these because they will absorb. For the sweet potatoes, I do not put garlic or salt and pepper because they're sweet.
I'm about to get some spices.
Yeah, I'm not going to put garlic and salt and pepper on these just because they're sweeter and they will pick up the sweet flavor. And I don't really want garlic. But if you prefer that, you can do that. It's okay. This is kind of your world, and this is just the foundation. So you can pick, whatever you want to put on it. That's why it's such a good thing to have a variety of spices, because you can do the same foods over and over, but just add different spices and it tastes completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy doesn't have to be complicated.
salt, pepper, and garlic sounds pretty basic, but it's actually really good.
Yeah, it's actually really good. And when you pair it with other things, or say you do prep your food on Sundays or Mondays, then it makes it easier for you to add flavors into it. You can put salt, pepper, and garlic on that. If you do your meal prep and you do it very basic, if you do salt, pepper, and garlic, then you can add flavors in. Say you have chicken and your chicken is basic, then you could add like a teriyaki sauce, or a buffalo sauce, like something spicy to that gives your vegetables more flavor, that everything paired together that it goes together well. So he's doing his zucchini with the salt, pepper, and garlic, back to the basic. And then the last one that we will do will be the Brussels sprouts.
So you guys are using salt, obviously,
Yeah.
to flavor your vegetables. So
Yeah.
maybe we should talk about that for a minute.
Very lightly salted.
Yeah.
Right.
We are using sea salt. Sea salt does not have as much sodium in it. And for patients that are cardiac patients, we want to minimize our sodium intake. That does not mean that we want you to have a sodium-free diet. You need sodium. You have to have sodium in your system for your heart to function properly. And when you cut out all of the sodium from your diet, you're doing your heart and your body a disservice. Your muscles can't contract appropriately, and your heart is a muscle, and when that muscle can't work properly, you will have issues. So we do want you to have regular salt, but when you're cooking, in addition, we don't want you to add regular salt to your diet. Sea salt is a much better option.
So, like I just said, lightly salt, but once we cook with a lightly salted vegetable, once we're sitting at the table, I don't add salt.
No,
We're not,
no more salt.
no need for double coverage.
That's when you wake up the next morning and your ankles are swollen and you call your doctor and you're saying, "Oh gosh, my ankles are swollen. What do I do?" And it's a cycle. So if you know what causes it and you try to avoid it and do alternate things, then you won't have to call the doctor. You won't have to go to the heart failure clinic. You won't have to add another medication to what you're already taking, because we're talking to a population of cardiac patients. That's what our goal is to help you guys not have to be in the hospital, not have to add more medications to your already, large regimen that you're already having to take. We don't want it more complicated for you. So that's why we're doing this. All right, so now we have all of our vegetables. We got our squash, sweet potatoes, zucchini, and we have Brussels. We are going to put those in the oven, and we're going to put the sweet potatoes that we put olive oil over the top of. We're just going to sit those in there with it. And we'll talk about that as we go through. But we are going to put these in the oven, and we're going to roast them. I'm not a measure kind of person, so I'm going to say for probably about 20 to 22 minutes, you want to eyeball. Once they start to get golden on the top, then you will take them out and you can check them. But just keep your eye on those, just because, you can't really roast vegetables too much until they start wilting up, but just be very aware of that. Yeah, we'll put those in there. All right, so now that we have our vegetables in the oven, we can focus on our salmon. So if you have your salmon at home, we are going to go ahead and take it out. We're going to put our spices on it, and we're going to use olive oil in the pan to sear our salmon. Now, this is really quick. Your salmon should sear really quickly, just to get that flavor in there and lock it in so that it tastes really great. So we're going to unpack this. If you guys have questions, throw them into the computer, and then we'll answer them as we go. Okay, we're going to get this salmon
Do
ready.
you meal prep yourselves?
Yes. For the most part, we do. Yeah, if we're not out of town, we definitely will. And normally, what that consists of is a large portion of protein source and then a carb source. And I'll make my veggies as we go through the week. Like this week, I did crock pot chicken,
Mm.
and I literally added bone broth, diced an onion, and put some lime,
Mm.
and then did garlic, salt, and pepper. So we meal prepped that, and then I meal prepped. I do rice just because we work out a lot, and I eat rice after we work out. But that's not, it's not suggested for a lot of people. But you can meal prep sweet. That's why the sweet potatoes that I added to that, they're really great for meal prep. You literally take it out of the fridge and heat it up and put your food with it, and you're ready.
Yeah,
So
I really like your suggestion of adding just enough flavor, but keeping it bland so you can repurpose it in multiple ways.
actually, one of the nurses that I used to work with in CVRU, we were talking about meal prep one time, and we were like, we hate leftovers. And she said, if you will make we were actually talking about shredded chicken. She was like, if you will just put your chicken in bone broth and sprinkle salt and pepper on it, you can add what flavors you want to make it last. So
Yeah.
that way it's not boring.
Right.
I don't like redundancy when it comes to food. I get super bored. So
Me
then
too.
I don't want to do it.
Yep.
But if you add variety to it, you will definitely see a benefit.
It's amazing how you can use all the same things and just a different
Oh, yeah.
sauce can make it seem like a completely different meal.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Would that be normally lunches or dinners or both that you're meal prepping, or just kind of you eat it and when it's done, it's done?
Normally it's for dinners.
Okay.
Because he eats at the hospital. And then I will eat it sometimes when I get home from the gym.
Yeah.
But it's normally like bulk for dinners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a very mobile family. There's always something going on. And I'm sure same for the audience, but
Yeah.
these meals can easily be packed in a container, thrown in a cooler. You can take them with you to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to normalize bringing your own dinner
Yeah.
to like soccer practice or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are girls, girls on our daughter's volleyball team that they bring their own food with them, and I think it's so amazing because
Yeah.
it's not concession food.
Right.
Like food that we're used to eating, like as a society, like it's not, we need to not normalize those things.
Yeah.
So it's just, but it's just changing of minds and perception and what we think is normal.
Yeah.
Because what a lot of us think is normal is not healthy,
Right.
and that's what's causing our chronic illnesses.
Yeah.
So we're trying to shift the mindset here.
Can you guys shed any light on, younger populations unfortunately are starting to have signs of heart disease?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that a trend that you're
Yeah, I
seeing more
mean,
and more?
yeah.
I've operated on plenty of 30-year-olds,
Okay.
getting heart surgery. So,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, number one factor playing into all this is genetics, but our lifestyle,
Yeah.
we've just kind of, let it slip from
Mhm.
Mhm.
natural foods, natural proteins to manufactured foods that are easy to reproduce and mass and get our hands on very easily.
Yeah.
That's exactly opposite of what we should be doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, and we're guilty of it at times too. Like, there's no perfection, there's only progress. Like, on a busy weekend, if we're out of town with, sports, like I was saying, we'll pick up a sandwich.
Yeah.
But it's the days later that your body just feels terrible because you put all of that processed meat in your body, and you really truly don't know how bad you feel until you do feel good. And then you digress back and you're like, oh, I really should have stuck with that.
We've gotten in such a habit of eating healthy that when we do
Mm-hmm.
change our eating habits because of whatever life calls for at the time,
Yeah.
there is no doubt in myself and Ashley that we feel it within the next 48 hours.
Yeah.
We feel awful. We know we've eaten bad and we feel like we're paying the price for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And it doesn't matter like that you're active. Even like when if you are, you know, stuck in a sedentary life because of health concerns, issues, whatever have you, it's more important to try your best to eat as healthy as possible. There are so many resources for you. Like I love shopping at Aldi. Like
Mhm.
Aldi is Aldi
Yeah.
is the jam when it comes to like picking up, fresh fruits and vegetables, and they have a great selection of meat. But it's making those choices like, oh, instead of this TV dinner that's super easy, I will get, I'm gonna, I'm gonna put my mind to it, and I'm gonna do this. Like I'm gonna cook this lean hamburger meat or this pan-seared salmon that literally takes 7 minutes to cook. And I know it's difficult for a lot of people, but there are lots of resources out there that can help.
Yep.
Um,
And you're showing us something really easy.
yeah,
So
this is literally, you can't mess this up unless
I
you
mean, I-
you literally can't. So speaking of cooking this salmon in 7 minutes, you are gonna want to cook it quickly. So I always turn my eye on my salmon to medium high, and then I pour the olive oil in the pan to let it. Yes, please. Thank.
you do have one question that's come in as well. Won't
Yes.
the veggies roast faster if they are in a single layer?
In a single layer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I normally put mine in a single layer at home.
Yeah.
If they weren't on there, it's just because we were doing it here. But yes, if they won't get they won't be
As
mushy.
crispy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they won't be as crispy if they're not in a single
You
layer.
may end up with some texture variation here.
That's all right.
The sweet potatoes especially. If you cooked an entire baking pan of sweet potatoes, dice them up this way, you definitely want them in a single layer on there. The zucchini and squash, they're gonna cook either way. They're not gonna be crispy. The crispiest of all of these would be the Brussels and the sweet potatoes on the parchment paper. So all right, he has turned our pan on to medium-high heat. I have 2 fillets of salmon here. This is wild caught Alaskan salmon. Why, you ask? Please tell me somebody
tell us
asked why I
why.
chose wild Alaskan salmon. Um, Wild Alaskan salmon is literally what it says, wild. There has been no feeding off of anything that was farmed. The salmon is not farmed. They have literally caught this, cut it, packaged it, and they're selling it. It goes along with any other meat that is farm raised. They have been given antibiotics. They've been fed things that
Unnatural
uh,
in so many ways.
yeah, they're just things that we don't really want to eat. So wild Alaskan salmon is the most natural. Its color has not been modified by food coloring. They've not given this salmon anything to make it have this pink color. It is by God's design that this salmon is literally pink.
More nutrient dense, particularly with
Yeah.
your omegas.
Yeah.
Whereas your farm raised fish, it's just not going to be as nutrient dense as something that's
Right.
wild caught.
Right. And actually, you can find this at Ingles. You can find it at Trader Joe's if you're in Greenville or wherever you are. I don't know where everybody's from that's listening in, but Trader Joe's has this. Whole Foods would have it. Publix would have it, and I literally have been getting my wild salmon at Aldi. That's why I say I love Aldi, because they have such a good variety of meats. So with our wild Alaskan salmon, what I do, you may not like it like this, but this is what we have found works for us. We're gonna take some. We're gonna use salt, pepper, garlic, paprika. Can you guys see this? Or is it too far away? Oh, right here. All right, so I have paprika. I'm going to add a little bit of coriander. Coriander has a little bit of it almost adds a bit of a sweet flavor. So I've just lightly dust this on top, and I really do it last. I have Old Bay seasoning. I looked at the ingredients on this, and it is only celery salt. It has spices with red pepper and black pepper and paprika in it. So if you didn't necessarily want to use this, you don't have to, because I'm sure there's a little bit of something in here that probably keeps it from getting stuck together. So, if you're following a specific diet, yeah, there's probably a preservative in this. I don't use it often, but the only time I do use it is if I do my salmon. So it probably could be something that I could stay away from.
And that's a little different. Sprinkling it on your salmon, which is
Yeah.
a nutrient-dense food, is different than smothering it in your French fries, as a Marylander native might do.
This is true. Oh my gosh. All right.
Put it on everything.
I love it. I have ground cayenne pepper. And then we have our basics, our salt, pepper, and our garlic. So, do you want to do this? He said no.
I
All right.
make my salmon very different, so
Yeah.
I don't even know how she makes her salmon.
This is the Ashley version. All right, so I'm literally just gonna, hold it up and just lightly sprinkle a dusting over.
What are you sprinkling?
This is paprika. Yep, just a light dusting.
For my own education.
Have you ever used smoked paprika?
Oh, I don't.
Okay.
He loves it.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I love it on sweet potatoes. Have you ever put it?
Yeah.
Actually tends to avoid smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a smoked paprika. We do have some at home, and I think that's why I prefer cook the salmon and not let him do it, because he always uses a smoke flavor, and I'm just not a huge fan of it. But like that shows you the difference between what flavors people like.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take this ground cayenne pepper. I think I got this at Ingles, and it's pretty clean. I know, I love spicy food. That's why we do it like this. And then I'm going to crack pepper.
Certainly need cayenne pepper on.
Yes, you absolutely can. If all you wanted to put on this was salt and pepper and sear it in olive oil, that is absolutely fine. And I'm not even going to put a lot of salt on here. I'm just going to crack one little tiny crack on there. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pour some olive oil in the pan. Just pour it in the center, and then, or wherever he pours it, I pour mine in the center and just work it around. I also have avocado oil. I brought some from home. Avocado oil is really good to use in addition to olive oil if you just get tired of the flavor of olive oil. It's also an oil that cooks at a high temperature. We try to stay away from vegetable oil, canola oil, because when you put them in a pan like this, you can if you'd like, face down, face down. Yes, I'll tell you why. But we try to stay away from those kinds of oils because they break down. When you cook them at high heat, like we're doing right here, oils that are not olive oil or avocado oil or coconut oil, they modify themselves. So when they go into your body, they're not able to be digested appropriately, and then they get into our bloodstream and they cause us to have clogged arteries. So these oils are natural and they process through our digestive tracts much easier. So we have our salmon in the pan on medium-high heat with some olive oil. And if you will notice, is the camera looking down on this? Can you see us? Okay, perfect. So here it is. So we're going to put it back on the stovetop. And so this is key. When you're cooking your salmon, you want to be able to eyeball the side of it to where once it starts to turn color, it turns a lighter pink color. You want it to be halfway up through the fillet of salmon. and then you're going to flip it. So we're going to wait until this salmon has cooked halfway through, and then we're going to flip it. I learned from a Food Network cooking show that you always want to cook your fish face down first. And that is so that it seals in flavors. This camera? Yeah, it seals in flavors. So when you are cooking fish, you always want to put the skin side up first. So that is basically why I do that, because I saw it on Food Network and I tried it and it's really great. So here we are. I'm gonna let that cook and I'm gonna check on our vegetables. Mm. Yes. Oh yeah. 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 Right. Right. Oh no. No, you can definitely cause issues if you're not eating healthy.
To ran marathons that are in my office with
Mhm.
coronary disease or AFib, it can happen.
Yeah, for sure.
One question just came in, that is, do you know the smoke point of avocado oil? And I hope you don't mind, I took that one. It's 520 degrees. So it is very high.
I was gonna say, I know that the lower cooking ones are around 350,
Mm,
and so there is a much higher cooking temperature for olive oil and avocado oil.
yeah.
That's why we choose to use them, is because they just stay in their natural state and they
Mhm.
don't break down and modify at
Yeah.
all. Yeah, and I just can't imagine like that being in my body.
Yeah.
Like when you really, really, truly think about consciously what is going into your body and how it's going through your system, you pay more
Yeah.
attention. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And you think about eating a real olive, or you can eat a real whole avocado.
Yes.
You can't really eat a canola plant.
No.
It's only in oil. That's
Or-
the only way we
Yeah.
eat it. Or even, things like grape seeds.
Yeah.
Sometimes they use
Yeah.
compounds, they use chemicals to actually extract the fat from, think about how small a grape seed is.
Right.
It's teeny tiny. So I
Mhm.
was kind of on the bandwagon of that one, and then I've learned a lot more about how it was made and have
Right.
backtracked a little bit
Yeah.
from that. Even though it is a very mild oil, it's relatively
Right.
affordable, and
Right.
but
A
grape seed,
oil.
yeah.
So while we're talking about oils and we have this salmon, so this somebody would probably assume that this is a pretty high fat meal. The fats that are in this meal are all healthy fats. So the salmon has omega-3 fatty acids. And I'm sure a lot of the population that is watching probably are encouraged to take omegas. So that is a healthy fat. Olive oil is a healthy fat. Avocado oil is a healthy fat. When you cook with these oils, they're cooking down. So it's not one of those things that you're going to be saying, "Oh, I ate 6 tablespoons of olive oil today." It's you're just incorporating it into the vegetable that you're cooking with, and it cooks off. So the majority of it cooks off. So the highest amount of fat that you would be eating would be in the pan-seared salmon. All right, so we probably have about another minute on our salmon fillets, and then we're going to flip them over. I'm going to put this in the
You
sink.
wanna-
Yeah,
I
that's
think in-
great.
I think in America, we tend to
Yeah, that's really
pay
great.
attention to protein and go for the easy stuff.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Every single meal that you have, which should be at least 3 to 4 meals a day, if you are able, should consist of a protein. And when I say proteins, that needs to be either chicken, a beef, which is a very lean cut of beef, fish, or you have plant-based proteins, which are beans, a lot of people that eat plant-based eat tofu. I am not familiar with tofu because I do not eat plant-based. We eat meat, but if you are plant-based, then there are options for protein. You just have to kind of figure out what works for you because some diets, yeah, hold it
Look
right
at
here.
that.
So, yep,
Perfect.
yep. So now that it browned halfway through, we flipped that over. And so we're going to let the other half cook up. And then we'll show you a little trick to make it amazing.
For anyone interested in more about tofu, they can join us for our Veg Edge event in March, where we're doing a tofu curry. So
I may need to know that. I just don't eat tofu, so
there's a skill, there's a lot of
yeah,
skill and a lot of learning curve
absolutely.
to it.
But yeah.
I have learned.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
Back to the protein sources, you definitely want to have a plate at every meal that has a protein and some carbs and some fats. You need carbs in your diet. You just don't need carbs in the source of potato chips or French fries or things that are processed that would be a carbohydrate. You want good, healthy, natural carbohydrates.
I will say that I'm kind of big on order of meal eating, how you eat your meal.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
You are.
if I start with the carb, the first thing that gets released in my body is going to be insulin.
Mhm.
And so I tend to eat my protein first, followed by my vegetables. And then, by the time I get to my carb, my pancreas has already released the appropriate digestive compounds to break down this meal, but I'm not getting a huge insulin spike. And also by putting my carbs at the end of the meal, I'm less likely to eat more carbs. So just little tricks to managing the meal.
Just to feel full. It helps you feel more satiated. And when you focus on eating more of your protein source, you do feel full and your body likes that so much better than eating carbohydrates first.
I saw a really interesting study related to that, actually, that talked about how the first thing that hits your taste buds is then what you will, chances are that's what you'll eat all of, kind of like what you're talking about, slightly different concept, but that's part of the reason it's a good thing to get a side salad that might come out before your meal if you're dining out, because the vegetables will be the first thing to hit your tongue. And we don't even think about it. It's something that is very subconscious, but through research, what they've found is that someone is more likely to eat more of the vegetables that come with their full meal if they ate that salad or they ate that other item first.
Right.
On to whatever stimulus is provided to it. So, that's why you hear people say, well, I'm a sweets person. And the other person says I'm a savories person, but the person.
Hey, do we have plates?
And then
to put
cut
this on?
themselves from the sweets, they no longer desire the sweet.
Right.
But as soon as they feed it, all of a sudden they've got the craving.
Yeah. It's remarkable what a role the brain plays in all of this. And so, and it's a true thing. If when someone says they're addicted to something or, they're craving it, there's a lot that goes on there. And
absolutely.
with the gut microbiome, more we're learning about how all those little bugs are related to chronic disease and cravings and craving the right things or
absolutely
contributing to the cardiovascular disease.
Yeah, I mean, that's why when somebody goes on an elimination diet, they have so many like, oh, I have a terrible headache. I've had a headache for 2 weeks, or my body hurts so bad, or I feel a little nauseated. It's why you're eliminating all of those bad things that you've been, putting in your body for so long that your body is like, it wants it.
Yeah.
You're trying to get rid of it. Oh, it's okay. So this is going to be my trick that I do that he taught me. So I did take a little bit of your salmon cooking. I'm going to sprinkle a tiny bit of coconut sugar on top of this salmon. So I'm just going to take it out of this bag. I don't have a spoon, so I'm just going to sprinkle it. Okay, a tiny bit. And then I'm going to take the oil that is in the pan. I'm just going to kind of hold the pan up a little bit like that. And I'm going to just drizzle the oil over the top of it to melt that coconut sugar.
Wow.
I would not use regular sugar, no brown sugar, nothing like that. And I would definitely not encourage this to someone who is diabetic. But this is coconut sugar, and it's far healthier than any other
Once you
sugar.
put the oil over it, it creates a nice little glaze that.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to take that salmon off. We're going to sit it here. Beautiful. All right.
Look
we're
at
gonna,
that.
I know they're beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and take out the veggies. These look
All right.
amazing.
Is that 2 or 4 servings of salmon? And about how many, I guess we'll see how many servings, quote unquote, of vegetables you're about to plate with as well.
I'm just going to sit this on the oven mitt. All right, here are our veggies. Okay, so as far as the portions of salmon, I'm not exactly sure what the weight of each of these was. Do you know?
I don't remember. I think they were close to 6 ounce.
I was going to say, yeah, so palm method is a good method. But normally what I suggest to all my nutrition clients and to our athletes at the gym, to my patients at the hospital, you want to have at least 4 to 6 ounces of a protein. Whether that be you measure it out using a food scale, that's getting really strict. Or if you use a hand method, you can use a hand method for measuring portions. So if you take your hand and you look at that piece of salmon and you say, okay, this is a palm size is usually about 20 grams of protein. So if I want to consume about 30 grams of protein, then I'm going to eat a palm and a half size of salmon. So that would be about a palm and about another half. So that's probably about a 5-ounce piece of salmon. So but I've been doing this for a long time, so I can eyeball things, whereas some people may be like, oh my gosh, I have to measure things. But you can do everything with the palm method. And if you've never heard of that, then it's a really cool thing. You can look it up on the internet, the palm method of measuring foods. So proteins are measured by the palm size of your hand, whereas carbs are measured by a fistful. So what I would do would be put a fistful of my sweet potatoes as my main carb source with my meal. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and put our veggies on our plate. Yeah. All right. So this thing is hot, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we'll do our sweet potatoes first. And you don't have to keep these divided up. You can actually, you could do them all together. But since, I like to keep things separate just for purposes of, let's just say this is his plate and this is my plate, because he would get a larger portion of protein than I would if we were at home. Men tend to need a little bit more protein than women. Okay. So that's our main carb source, the sweet potatoes, a complex carb. It's not going to cause you to have as much of an insulin spike as if you were going to be eating sweet potato fries or regular French fries or white rice. You could sub in brown rice for this if you want to stay heart healthy. You could sub in brown rice or quinoa. You could do lentils. I am not familiar with how to cook lentils, but they are always an option and they have protein in them. So I'm going to add in some squash. And the serving size of veggies, eat your veggies. Lord, eat your veggies.
Almost.
Yeah, like when I encourage my clients to eat healthy, I truly don't care how many veggies they eat. Like, I just want them to eat vegetables, real vegetables.
In a position unless you're on a blood thinner.
Yeah. Be careful with your Coumadin. Don't eat a lot of vitamin K. All right. Anybody love Brussels?
Yeah.
I'm just going to put these over the top.
You made a really colorful plate too.
I know. Oh my gosh, it makes me so happy. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna move that, and then do you want me to sit these back here, or
Yeah.
okay, right there?
Way we'll be able to see the full plates. So we're almost done. So everyone get any questions in that you have
Yeah. If
for
anybody has
that.
questions, throw them at us.
And ta-da! It looks good. It smells good in here. I know that much.
Oh my gosh, it does. It smells amazing.
So
I got olive oil on here.
anyone have any questions while you have these amazing healthcare professionals in front of you or in your kitchen with you, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. Is anybody cooking along?
That's
Have
a
you
good-
like been going along with us?
We'll see. Have you ever used date sugar?
No,
I haven't either.
I've never seen it.
Is the coconut sugar any like thicker? Is it a coarser crystal?
It is a little bit more coarse, and I think that's why I like it on top of this, just because when you do, like when you put the olive oil over it, the hot olive oil, it almost makes a crisp layer. So
Yeah.
it's like you have to like cut your fork through it.
Okay.
So it makes the top crispy and then the skin is crispy.
Yeah.
I don't eat skin of salmon. I pull mine off, but it adds that just texture element
Mm-hmm.
that it's maybe like a potato chip. You have to crunch it.
Yeah.
Like make sure.
Yeah. There's absolutely something to be
Yeah,
said for that.
seriously.
Yeah. All right. Doesn't look like there are any more questions. So you did it so beautifully.
I know
We
this
can't
looks really great.
thank you enough for coming. And again, happy American Heart Month to everyone. Watching what you put in your bodies is just one way we can work on preventing cardiovascular disease together.
Absolutely.
So feel free to reach out at any point if you have questions that we can help with. And with that, we'll
Thank
sign
you
off.
guys. Thank you for having us.
I did this last time.